Sanbonani, we are back at it again. Another week, another actor, another storyteller, another creative. And today I'm super excited. I mean, I was at an event and I got to meet this brother, and I'm super excited to be in a conversation with him because there's a lot to unpack. And in the last few minutes that we have spent together this morning, I will tell you, you are in for a treat. Who am I speaking about? None other than Anelisa Phewa. Greetings, sir.
Hello, Mickey.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. Benditempted ukuba ndithethe ngesiXhosa yabo, welcome up studio, but then I realized ukuthi akungomXhosa. Well, technically he is as well, but he isn't. And I'm already deep diving, but I think that's one of the things that's so fascinating about you, that I'm not outing you because it's already out, but you're not a Xhosa gent as we thought many of us perceived you were, right?
No, listen, the mandate was to play a character that spoke a language and had a set of skills and story traits that I was sympathetic to. It was part of the job. So I spoke the language for that.
Yeah.
And it was written down and it was a technical exercise.
And we all believed you. It means you did a good job.
Well, look, I mean, yeah, that was the beginning of my acting career. It was like, act like a Xhosa guy. I was like, okay.
All right.
You know, so it was cool, but it shifted across different shows. People would say to me, yeah, he's definitely Xhosa, he's just not from my hood.
Yeah.
Because I can't improvise in the language. So I would speak it clean.
Love it.
But that taught me lots of nuance. You know, I didn't have to take so much responsibility. I could disappear because I don't speak like that already. So then you start to get the different interpretations from the different writers. They're like, no, he's different. He's from here. No, he's from there. No, he's from here. And I would shift from show to show, which for me spoke of character. The words change, therefore the characters will change across the story context.
We'll get into that. I normally start the show asking our guests the same question, and I'm not going to change tradition today. If there was a billboard in a very busy highway somewhere with your face on it and a caption or a phrase that captured the essence of who you are, what would it read?
Do the thing.
Oh, do the thing. What is the thing and why do the thing?
That was my initial brand when I started. And the thing for me that is most frightening in acting is the idea of day one at rehearsals. You just don't know what to do. There's no prescription. It's scary every time. Tomorrow I walk into day one of rehearsals and I carry that feeling because you don't know what's going to happen, what to expect. You have to defeat the work that you've already conquered over the past couple of months. So you need an idea of action. And in film, theatrically they'll say, and action. Action is to be done, it's a verb, you know. So if you do something, you take the first bit of action, something will happen.
I love the fact you're saying do the thing, because you're not defining it. And the thing, you are giving it permission to be whatever it needs to be, whenever it needs to be. Why not defining it? Because
it's personal to you. Very presumptuous of me to say, do this or do that. It takes action, but you know what action you need to take. We share the responsibility. I say do. You say to me, what have you done that you can say to me do? I say, Google the guy. Google the guy. He's done the thing. I've had to do it all the time. So I speak of experience. That's my thing all the time. My sensei used to say, I'll never let you do something that I can't do, and I will do it with you. Right? And that's my mission. You know what I mean? I'm here not to just say do it. I'm saying let's see how best we can do this thing to bring out your best thing, whatever that is. So is do the thing a command to the outside versus an internal conversation? It's a negotiation. All right. Because you can say the sentence to self to motivate self. If I'm sitting in a rut and I don't have any means, I'll get stuck. So to create movement, you have to move and you have to take action. You know, because we'll sit and we'll procrastinate or we'll think about it or we'll theorize. At the end of the day, you have to do something, whether it's to go look for a job or to create a job. You know, you need to get off the ground and get up. There's an idea of growth and movement and responsibility to say, yes, they blew up the world, but when I got up, what did I do about it? Then you can always say, yeah, I did that. To self.
That's all they do, yeah.
You know, and if anybody else says, hey man, how did you do it? They're not interested in hearing how you are going to do it. How did you do it? So that we can take on our motivation and then also follow in your step and also do.
I love that.
Do the thing, man.
And I love that because you're saying it's a negotiation. It also leaves, with negotiations, it leaves room for yeses and nos. And it leaves room for, yes, taking us on a journey to participate more, you know, versus a no, which says maybe this ends here. Which also takes us on a journey because then it means you miss out on I love that idea of negotiation and also the yes not being permanent, because maybe it's a yes now and then it's a maybe here no, you know.
I like what you say because it speaks to a drama exercise that we use in improvisation. Because we are negotiating insecurity through action. So what we suffer as a consequence is insecurity. Because we don't know what to do. So if I, as your scene partner, must bring a scenario out of thin air into a dramatic consciousness that we can negotiate with for the audience's participation and enjoyment, as skilled practitioners, we need to have some tools with us to say, well, what do we do? It's the idea of yes and. I went to the party the other day. Yes, and I saw that you got a new cell phone. Yes, and you should see how much space it's got, if you know what I mean. Yes, I know what you're talking. Then we're creating something out of nothing because we are just working with the idea of that flow.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking for, you know.
I love that.
Because then the flow allows you to be a certain way in your body. You breathe a certain way. You're not under threat, so you are open to the creativity, right?
I love that. I mean, when you're speaking about the flow, I was telling you earlier, having witnessed your work and seeing the work that you've done over years, there's this groundedness of your character where they are grounded, they are sure, they are certain, they are, I don't want to say static because they've got multiple shades, you know, but they are
Still.
Yeah, they are like solid, you know, they are more like ice. And ice is, as much as it's frozen, you can put it in different spaces and it does different things. So that's why they're still complex in that regard. But then I meet you in real life, and from day one, there was just this wind and flow. And for me, it was balancing these two, you know, because I'm like, okay, my approach to what I've known as an outsider is this, you know, you need to know your words to have this conversation. And then I meet you, and it's like, no, flow, let's go. You know, it's that yes and. So in that yes and spirit, I want to know what informed that. I'm also not ignorant of having heard you say, my son say, you know, and I'm like, okay, this is now speaking to martial arts and stuff. I know that because now I know a bit about you, but another person might have heard that and be like, uthini manje lo bani usansei sandlula nje fast kangaka. Tell us a little bit about that, and also maybe did the flow and this, is it influenced by even that journey of martial arts?
I think so. Absolutely. And it's part of my mission. So my mission is to say that I have had such an intimately long experience in drama that I've had a long time to experience it in its various forms. And because it resembles drama, I can live with it and through it, which means that the things that I learned in my life, I can influence the drama with, particularly if they're artistic. I mean, you watch a movie and music plays, that's a soundtrack. It affects you emotionally, right? And you're not thinking about it, but as the actor, you're not going to underscore your own performance in your own head with something. So it's taking form, taking out the shell, reducing it into something and taking the essence and moving it across the various realms. And I enjoy the idea of a martial art because I mean, look, I went into martial art because I was pretty,
All right.
and they're gonna beat me up.
I love it for you. And you had to get insurance. You had to have
You know what I'm
a way
saying?
to protect the
Like,
pretty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked it very much. They showed you very basic structural ways that you didn't even have to think about. Do you know what I mean? Your Jordan, one, two, three. I was like, and then when he comes from this side, you go, oh, you throw him over, you're like, whoa.
What
Do you
happened?
know what I'm saying? So it was a very bit by bit systematic way. It was coding, physical coding for the body, but I didn't need it only for fighting. In fact, I barely use it for fighting because as you do this, you exude a different thing. I wish they would. They can kind of tell. They tap because I've bred it as a beast that sits with me. It's tame until the moment, right? And if I'm not going to use it in the street or whatever, I can use it in the drama. Of course I can. If the character needs it. If I must play a character that's cowardly, it will be the most involved thing you ever saw because you know with Outlander, if he can just believe he can fight, we've seen him. No, the character needs to be broken this way so I can affect the soft spaces that I've used for other things to reflect in the drama.
How old were you when you started martial arts?
Well, I started visually through influence. You watch Bruce Lee, you
Yes,
try
of
to
course,
do the thing that he does.
He was very big when we were growing up. You know? Yes.
And then you get into it. I think the formal structure, I was 9, no, I was 8 when I got into the Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Boom, I did that, did the Kung Fu, and then I moved school. So when I started in high school, then I did Goju. With a friend of mine who was in the SA team at the time, Musiaba Matoya, got me into that. So we went into Goju. By the time I got into varsity, I went to Cape Town, then I joined, it was Goju-Ru, his style, as he was exposed to. Then we did Goju Kai at the Hombu Doju in Cape Town, which then brought me into the professional space of fighting. Do you know what I mean? Because now you're competing, now you're representing
Your school, your team.
well, by this time I'm in varsity, okay?
Yes.
So I didn't study through UCT. I studied at the South African headquarters, you know, it's the All Africa Dojo, right? So that's the African headquarters. Training over there, it has its own swag and sense of esteem and all of that. So you compete, and that's the Western Province head, but there's also the SA headquarters as well. So in terms of my making the Western Province team and being Western Province #1 at a time and being SA #1 at a different time and being national champion and having fought in a world championship, do you know what I mean? I enjoyed it because that was my big thing. They mustn't touch me. Even they mustn't touch me. And they didn't.
And so how does...
How does it come together?
Yes. Well, how does this beautiful... Because I mean, you started us off with this journey now of martial arts, which speaks to physicality. But even before we get into the physicality part, I'm fascinated by the assurance and the consciousness of your looks, you know, because I think a lot of people in our industry, they shy away from boldly saying a statement like, no, I needed to protect myself. And the fact that you became conscious of that very early, which, you know, that you can't touch my face. I'm fascinated by that. And then also how do you flow into the acting? Because now you're doing this martial arts, and how then do you flow into the acting or use this because of probably acting came before martial arts or they came jointly?
Music came first.
All right, the singer.
The energy, the weight, because music moves.
Yes.
If it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. Do you know what I'm saying? You've got all of these pulses that move your body in a certain way that require a certain kind of breath and a certain kind of focus, right? Now, if the music is coming at me in sheets of sonic waves, how do I navigate that so that I cut through it? So it's swimming now, you understand? Because if it's against me, how do I deal with it? I need to pierce it.
Yes.
I need a certain kind of presence. I need a certain kind of breath. I need a certain kind of preparation. I'm analyzing everything. I'm consulting with the situation in real time to make the best decision for the body, because the body reacts all times to whatever the situation is. And that really gives us the idea of character. You are a body reacting to circumstances in space. And because of how you believe the stuff that's on the inside will reflect how you deal with the stuff on the outside. That will then reflect cowardice, bravery, insecurity, freezing, all of those things. And then those are characteristics that are brought out of you through these situations.
But in real time, as a human being, you're experiencing this is one thing. Being able to translate the same emotions, the same physicality, because of the pressure will never be the same in a scene. Sometimes you won't have the same pressure you would have in real life accident in an accident scene. But how do you then bring that passage back? Because of in an accident, you'll be driving, there'll be that hardcore. In a scene, they'll probably, it's gonna be a young, but you have to have that same energy. How do you then bring it in?
I'm excited by the idea of being able to be called out on this.
Okay.
That I may put my money where my mouth is with contemporary conversation. So this conversation is happening. Am I allowed to time code it?
No.
Right? So this is November 2023.
Yes.
Right? I have work due on Netflix coming out January 2024.
Okay.
So we can put this speech to the metal to say, well, you said.
Okay.
Right?
Let's do that.
Because there are two states. The state of preparation and the state of flow are different, but they move into each other. We have to prepare in a solid way, because every time you go into a moment of presence, you could lose your life. So it is as deadly serious as if, because even in the scene, you can die as the actor because of your own willful negligence.
And that's true.
What happened?
Actors die on set.
Oh, he got hit by a truck. What? The road was closed off. Yeah, but he was playing the fool. Yes, they weren't shooting. They had press cut or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's extreme. And I say this because I could have died on that set. And I mean, I'm not saying that to put anybody in trouble, but I'm saying the stakes were so hard that I had two opportunities that if I were not focused, I would have lost my life. So the presence comes from this is the seriousness of what we need to do to tell the story with as much authenticity as possible. If I'm shooting blanks, I still want to make sure that my fellow actor is not running in my line, because he's not the one that I'm trying to hit. He can't block my creative vision just because he's not on screen. I need to see what's happening so that I miss him, so that it's deadly serious. The line, the discipline. So my body says, if I have to learn how to push that line there, when that line is being represented by a gun, and we are moving close quarter things over here, boom, boom. My body needs to know, boom, bam, bam. You got me on that, you got me on this. It's a technical craft that requires a physical body, a body that is present. Because I must run, I cramped doing a stunt. I couldn't say I cramped doing a stunt. So what I did was I decided to make a creative decision that would help me in that moment. So I ran, and I'm supposed to hijack a car that's coming across. I jump across, I point the gun, I cramp, so then I just lift myself across. So that if the car lands, I don't have to run across, like Sanya wouldn't make it. So then I half slide, I mean, it looked cool. I'm dressed in leather and cape, and I've got a desert eagle, it's looking good. Get out. By the time he gets out, he has to get out. The cops are still coming. Boom, still. It's a stunt drive, it's a stunt run. I've just rolled off the wall over there to do a creative thing. It's a lot of stuff. It requires a body that is present, that is trained, that is ready, that is fit. We need to do 7 takes of me running. I run in that thing. I know Tom Cruise. Come on, man. Man is 60 now. I'm 40. Come on. I've got another 20 good years of running. Let's go. He's going to see it if he watches. Come on.
And I love the fact that we're speaking a lot about body. I think since we've been here and having multiple conversations with different guests, maybe one guest has touched on the physicality, but acting, our bodies are that instrument. And the conversation of how do we take care of the instrument is important. You speaking about your martial arts and the discipline that it has brought to your body, maybe even the training and the precision and focus and the protection of the face. Of course, you've got to protect the face. But then the same skill that you are taking there, it's now a tool in the space, because now you are acting, but as an actor, you're bringing the focus of martial arts to the scene. You're bringing the knowing of your body, because your body has been tested in multiple spaces outside of this context. But now the confidence of what you experience there makes you say, "Nekrempla, Mara, it's not going to stop me from the scene.
The breath.
You're going to get the shot."
Because now you're in the World Championships and you're 3 points down, you're running out of time and you get a cramp. You need that leg to score the 3-pointer. What are you going to do? It's either going to hold you up while you kick with the other one, you're going to wobble on it, or you're going to lift it up and move, or you're going to jump and do something.
And now the same training comes back into a scene.
It has.
And you say, "We're going to get this shot."
Absolutely.
Cameron or Sunshine.
Yeah, otherwise, senza any chance.
Sinza.
Like, then I'm a papaya.
What is an actor,
What is an actor?
according to you?
A servant of the drama.
Servant of the drama.
Servant of the drama, custodian of the story.
All right.
Yes.
How are we serving the drama?
The drama is a story that represents our people.
Does that make drama the master then of the actor?
Yes. Story.
Yes.
Story. Because story is the ever eternal.
Yes.
It is, once upon a time, there was. Let there be light. Right? We are a story-based society, and we want to know about ourselves. And our greatest gift is the universe, the idea of a universe, that something that is disembodied and infinite. That's your mind, disembodied and infinite. You are not your body. You can train your body. It is up to us to show ourselves in our best light. I am in the best physical shape that I've been in my life because I'm cognizant of that. For my work, for my body, for my craft. My craft serves a bigger purpose. I am not here to celebrate myself. I'm not a celebrity. I'm an actor. I'm a drama technician. I have a job to do. May your pain be absolved in this story that I have the honor to share with you. It's bigger than me.
As a vessel. I love
because
that.
once it's done, then what?
Servant of the drama, of the story, the custodian of the story. But we're also instruments, right, in that moment. And the instrument, is the instrument its own? Does it belong to itself or the world?
I was having a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday. We worked together on Sevendalon. He played, his name is Heino, and he played altus.
Okay. Altus.
He's amazing. He can do everything. He reflects the infinite nature of art by revealing to me all of the art things that I cannot replicate. As vast as I am within my own universal expression, I just have no entry into that particular realm. He's got a hand from the garden to types of rocks, plants. He was showing me on Google Earth yesterday his labyrinth. He created a labyrinth at his farm, and it's amazing, but it's not just frivolous. It's stuff that has a weight, an essence, something bigger than the physical known realm that we may negotiate and investigate and express and see.
So the instrument belongs to?
The instrument belongs to both the self and the people, but the instrument is a servant to the people. So to the point was that we're talking about my music, and he said it's not fair that you should enjoy how vastly well you have developed without giving the material to the people. It's not yours. Because you can't tell me how it is that you learned this skill and you've nurtured it over. I've been playing guitar since I was 21 for 19 years. I'm the best guitar player that I know other than the ones that I actually know. Right?
I love it.
I can say stuff.
Yes.
I can read the music. I can interpret and all that stuff. We're going to do some stuff that it can stand on its own, that I can write it down and leave it alone and have somebody else deal with it.
That's, you are fascinating, by the way. Like, I'm just caught up. I feel like I'm running to keep up. I'm like, okay, you know, you're 40, right?
Yes.
And there's this
Apparently.
saying,
So they
clearly,
say.
so they say,
All they're saying is you have to stop saying things like "What up, dog?" and and you should dress different.
so there's this saying of life begins at 40. What has 40 brought to you that you didn't have before?
Excellent question. I love that. 40, the years give me the years in that they give me credibility. I have been doing the same thing for a considered amount of time. Look, I started acting 10% ago. I was 4 when I started acting, which means I've got 36 years of bankable experience. Because I remember my first performance when I was playing King Herod in the nativity play. I wasn't wearing socks. There was a sensation behind my right heel here that I still remember. I won't remember every other thing, but I can reference that. I can reference every other year after that dramatically. Did music and drama all the way throughout and all of the influences in between. So to the client, I've got 36 years of dramatic experience. Doesn't mean that I'm infallible, but I have a lot of reference. So I can bring a lot of things to the fore and I can talk to many things. I can network a lot of things.
I'm fascinated by the fact that you're speaking about the 36 years. Around 4, you have your first nativity play, which a lot of people have when this festive season and it's all of that. You maintain that because there's something that happened on the day that stays with you. In the journey of that performance till today, have you ever stopped? Was there ever a point where the artist, the performer, the musician, the thinker, the teller, the vessel was not in function? The vessel was in the cupboard. Was there ever a moment where the vessel was not used?
Think about it as a cup on the ocean.
Okay.
Sometimes it has water in it, sometimes it's not, but it's always on the ocean.
Floating.
And there's always movement, whether it's being tossed up or whatever. We never have to doubt the...
And it remains in the ocean.
Always.
So you're still in the ocean.
Always.
And have never left
Always.
the ocean.
As long as there's breath.
Love it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it has purpose. It has function. Right? For me as a grown-up, it has an economic purpose.
Yes.
I survive with it. I can bank on it.
Yes.
Right? But for other things, I mean, it's got various cool things about expression and all of that. But for me, there's a purpose. I think about it because it reflects me so much. I grow every time I play a different character. You know, so it's...
I want to come back to this conversation, especially of the money part of it, the bankable part of it. I love the fact that every character allows you to grow, because truly that is. You know, I've always said that the creative space, we've got that gift of playing these multiple characters, but in essence, as much as we borrow them, our bodies, they gift us so much when they leave. They gift us the experience, they gift us the knowledge, they gift us the exposure sometimes, and sometimes they gift us self that we did not know we needed from them. So I want to visit some characters that you've wrapped up on and unpack maybe what comes to mind. What are some of the experiences that brought? You spoke about Altus, you know, in 70 Land, and that brought me back to the conversations of 70 Land, because it made me to think, yes, the 70 Land, let's get there. A friend of mine, just a quick story, when she went to audition for 70 Land, I never got that experience, but she went to audition for 70 Land and she came back to me and said, yo, the audition a bit different. The fact that we were minimal, I got there, I was even asked to go to Infinitia or Ramanzi at the moment while I waited. And she was just speaking about how that experience for her was so, it was the first time in the industry for her having had an experience like that, which got me to wonder why we're not having more of those. You know, I know sometimes it's not possible because it's an open call, but let's get into something done before I say a lot. Sipho.
Okay.
You played Sipho. How was that experience for you?
Sipho was very cool. He posed a question for me that was difficult
Okay.
because he challenged my existence with his. I lived with him, so where was the line between Sipho and myself? So I had to do some very drastic separation things, but also he allowed me the platform to do a Julia Roberts. You know what I mean? I needed to win a new audience.
I love it. I love that.
I did. I mean, I needed to. Everybody who was there didn't know me. They didn't know me from SABC One
Yes.
or any other thing. I needed to
Yes.
come and be at home on SABC Two. That was so good. That's what it needed to happen. But I decided he spoke a better Afrikaans than I did.
Yes.
Which means he needed to, he had a, I mean, his life, the physicalities of his things, he was a rich boy, things came easily to him, he didn't have to work, you know what I mean? So he was the typical brat, but I could see how...
Similarities.
Well, not similarities necessarily.
Life was
just
different in terms of like maybe your backstory, parents and whatever, but there were certain things in his life that you could see in your own life.
I had to decide those things.
Okay.
Because the similarities had to be negotiated. And I borrowed him my joy.
Oh.
And he used it well.
Wow.
And he earned me a lot of love from people. Because you saw a human being who had a lot of joy, but that joy wasn't permanent, it could be disrupted. And despite the disruptions, he would still persevere. That's why the girl falls in love with him, not because he's rich or good looking or whatever, but he will discard all of that stuff to prove the energy of what his love might mean to this girl. And he just wants to be next to her. That was beautiful, because then I had to learn how not to abuse that relationship, because in my character being close to this girl, I, as an actor and as a man with an attractive girl, there's always that idea that, hey, behind the scenes, do you know what I mean? I was offered an opportunity to deal with that. Maseko was beautiful, she still is, do you know what I mean? She's attractive in all of those ways, but I needed to learn how to pull myself away from that energy.
That's why he scared you.
Who?
Sipho.
Sipho.
Because you started off with the fact that...
No, he scared me because, well, I mean, yes, that too. But he scared me because I was going to have to live with him for however long.
Okay.
And I'd never played a long-form character like that.
All right.
So I worried from a technical point of view how I keep myself separate from him. In retrospect, there was nothing to worry about because he was not me. I would always be told what he's going to say. I would always be told what he's going to do.
And where he's going next.
I would just read the thing, learn it, interpret it, understand it, assimilate into it, breathe into it, and then throw it up in the air on the day, see what happens. According to the words will be the same, the structures will be the same, everything will be the same. How do you improvise when everything is the same? I'm like, well, we do it in life all the time.
We do.
You wake up on this side of the bed, that side of the bed, you do the same things within your ritual, but you do it differently.
Yeah.
Your heartbeat is different, your breath is different, the micro nuances are different, the sun is in a different place, the temperature is different, the things that you don't... Today, I heard the crunching of the bread as I was cutting it on the board. You know why? Not because I was special, but because I've been watching these videos on IG with the black gloves and the board.
Yes.
I was like, my goodness. I've had to be brought back to presence.
Yeah.
From the outside to say, whoa, and then I started hearing the birds and the water feature and the things, and I was like, wow. I've been invited into something that's bigger than me, that's not contributing to anything other than my own experience, but as a professional, I can capture this feeling and bring it back.
I like what you also touched on, I mean, in the spirit of feeling, where you say she's so beautiful, your co-star, and she remains, but then you have to have a conversation of negotiating between the hot guy that's playing, that is Sipho, and his love relationship with her, versus Anelisa, the hot guy as well still, so that context remains, but now Anelisa with the hot girl.
He wants it.
Yeah.
He wants it.
Yeah. And she probably could want him too at that moment, but he has to draw the line.
No, she drew the line.
Let's put it out
let's
there,
it's
safety. So had she not drawn the line, it would have
it
been...
would have been a mess. It would have been a mess. I would have lost so many friends. Yeah, it would have been a mess. It would have been lovely, but it would have been a mess.
That's fascinating because I was speaking to a friend of mine, Izolo, and I was saying to him, Uguti, there's something interesting about the sexual energy that sometimes we misuse because we think, all right, she's here, I'm here, and I can sense this big energy, but I have a choice right now to explore this and maybe end, because after the night, or to allow this energy, but to not act on it, to let it exist in the space. And I've seen that turn certain people into sisters and friends and lifelong relations where the restraint allowed it to be more, allowed me to see more than the moment that would have been. So negotiating that, she draws the line. How do you respond to drawing the line?
You are offered an opportunity to be a part of something bigger than you. You learn how to accept when a lady says no. In the softest way. You got an opportunity for it not to be awkward. You got an opportunity, do you know what I'm saying? You've got something precious to negotiate that is bigger than your own experience. Do you know what I'm saying? Because as a man, it is the biggest thing for me. It always comes at me. You know, I'm attractive, I'm in good shape, I've got good energy. Do you know what I mean? I've got a good sex energy in terms of drive and all of that. So it's a thing that you want to express. But what is it doing out there? What am I doing? What do you expect of me? And when I disappoint you in bed and in the next moment, what are you gaining? How do you gain back from what you lost?
And that energy is a very powerful energy, but also it's funny how we don't know how to always handle it.
What do we do with that sexual energy? I mean, it's so rife now. You know what I mean? There are things that we can say and things that we can't say.
Yeah.
I got a badge on my chest, so I'll say stuff. You know, I'm just saying, I'm like, come at me, you know, because we don't talk about it, you know, like we make a lot of bad decisions. And I mean, I'm not exempt from this thing. I've made a lot of sexual mistakes that have put me into disrepute privately, but I'm still here, you know what I mean? And I need opportunities to take responsibility for the things that I've done out there. And they needn't always be public. I'm not trying to cancel or shame anybody, whatever, but just to say, yo, as a dude, how do I respond to a situation like this as someone who is in the public eye? You know, I'm gonna have these opportunities brought up to me.
True.
What do I do with them? Ultimately, it comes back to the thing that I want to do. What do I want to manifest in my life? And will I take responsibility for that? And sometimes you have to make the mistake to realize that I don't want that.
And also because, truthfully speaking, and why I'm interested in having this conversation so deeply instead of just brushing through it, is because it's a conversation that's a reality. When you're gonna be in TV, you're gonna be an actor, you're gonna play the love interest. We fall in love with the Sipho and the love interest flowing. And when we see that relationship, we root for it, but also consciously, everybody that's sitting at home starts wanting it as well. It's like, oh, I want my Sipho. And then when I meet Anelisa at the mall, I'm not seeing him.
You're seeing your Sipho.
I'm seeing Sipho Wami finally arriving, you know? And so that space, a lot of actors have found themselves cutting their journey short because that Sipho moment was not dealt with properly. And I think through these conversations, we get an opportunity to say to younger actors, you will have your Sipho moments. And it's your life. You got to do what you need to do with it. But these are the things you need to look out for so that you govern or you carry this well.
Yeah. And I mean, I champion conversations like this because I've started to understand what I can do about the issue that is the industry. Because I was having a conversation with one of my students and we had to define what the industry was. And for me, I said, well, first, what is industry? You know, industry is action that is aligned with an economic gain or outcome. Forgive me, all economists, I'm just an artist. It's movement that you can get paid for, right? And if You can generate movement that you can get paid for. Surely you can sell that movement. So then what is the industry? People moving for the same cause together, but independently responsible for their own coin. It is gold, right? Now I'm waiting for someone to give me a brief to do this. I'm chilling here, I'm idle. Do the thing. Get up, do something. I can write, I can do hey, drama is action, guys. There's a thing I saw at varsity. It was the fourth years were doing a thing called picturization. There was nothing on stage. And then a toilet roll rolled across. Hey man, all of us looked at this thing. And then the fan, when we went there, and the feathers fell from the. Hey, and then they tried to pull this thing and it kept on rolling because it's funny now. Because it's unrolling and you can see it stops. And then it pulls it like this. There's no one on stage, dog. But there's drama there because stuff is happening. Right? So action is happening. Action. Cut. Understand? Document stuff. Do something. Take responsibility for something. Because once you are doing, you are practicing a craft because there's a repetitiveness to that thing, which builds industry because industry is here first, right? Then you start to find economy of movement. Once you got economy of movement, then you own this thing. You can repeat it at a rate that doesn't cost you. And then for that return,
you get something in, yeah. And
right?
Also the confidence that comes with it, because before the economic part of it is the repetition of the action.
It's the science, it's the art.
It brings that confidence, it brings the work itself to life, it brings the knowledge, which then you can translate into the economic value.
Because if art had a deity, which it does, I mean, I'm not trying to be religious, but say if art had a non-religious deity, what would we take to the altar to slaughter for that exchange? It's quite simple. It's repetition, it's practice. I bring this monologue to you. I've refined it 21 times. It sounds like this. May you bless it with eloquence. That I may affect the general public and give them what they need from it that you have put into this. Then it's not about the selfie before the thing. Yes, we'll take the selfie before the thing because my tandamas. I'm just saying, like guys,
I love it. I love it.
You
I
gotta
love it.
win the game. You win the game. If
so, time for me then is that which we're putting in that altar really, because if it's the monologue and the monologue going back to refine it and work, that is the time that we're putting onto this thing. You know, the eloquence, the success of it, the impact that it has are the byproducts of the sacrifice that had come through the time.
Because then we can go back to, who does the craft belong to? Oh, it's mine, but I don't do anything to it. Your house is dirty. Who does this craft belong to? It belongs to me. It is an altar, and this is what I do with it. And then we see, because we're blessed with your work. And then I'm going to want to be like you instead of wanting to sleep with you.
Wow. Wow. Or I can be with you, be like you and sleep with you because of people have that complex as well. People are like,
Be with you and
yeah, I mean,
look, life is complex. It's not one.
It
you
is.
know what I'm saying? Like I get challenges all the time. Like, so, Mr. Phewa, I'm like, oh my goodness, you saw the interview, didn't you? Okay, I'm celibate.
79, whilst we're still there, there was also a lot of, I mean, you spoke right now about a friendship that has gone beyond the scene. You know, you got on set, and that's the beauty of this craft as well, of being an artist, is that we build families and we become part of families around the world. Some become friends and stay friends, others really become family beyond the projects that we are doing. But with 70 Line, I cannot brush over this project without speaking about the complexities of the cultures and difference of culture and the language, and sometimes even the conversation of race.
Sure.
How was it for you in that world?
I felt like I was the baby that was born after many, many years of trying. I was immensely loved.
Okay. So you were the corrections.
I got to,
The
I
inheritance.
got to
You
reap
inherited?
all of Grandpa's riches.
You were the one who was like, finally we got it right here.
But it wasn't the beginning for me. It felt like the full circle moment.
Yes.
Twice over. Because when I sang in the Durban Boys Choir, there was an an Anglo-Afrikaans mix. Now understand, I'm Zulu Xhosa, you understand? I'm Zulu Xhosa, so there's a quadrant of culture that we are mixing in. And then when I was in the youth choir, again, Northern Natal, there was another set of introductions that were. So by the time I got to Seven Delan, I knew the culture. When I speak to somebody older than me, it's Uam Otani.
Yes.
There's
yes.
an intercultural understanding
Yes.
over there. Then they give you the reciprocal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I respected the work. I respected all languages. So I spoke Zulu, I spoke Afrikaans, and I spoke English. So I was an ambassador of these linguistic and cultural
Yeah.
structures. And I had a good time, but it was a technical university for me. It was my master's in film.
It's great to note that, because your life experiences, and I keep saying this all the time, that we need to allow ourselves to live, because having been part of the choir, having lived and joined that experience, and being in the spaces of interracial relations and conversations, and learning that culture, understanding understanding Tani, got you different. When you got into that space, you interacted differently. You know, for me, it was through sports. Played rugby, and by virtue of playing rugby, I got to schools which were predominant. Well, actually, it was an African school, and I played there, and the experiences were not always smooth. But I got to also understand the complexities of that. That it's not just a once-off experience to say Afrikaans people are racist or white people are racist, because I had Danis and Oams who would drive to Tembisa to take this boy to the home. You know, I had them who would bring an extra chocolate to the game because they bring a chocolate to their son. And they're going to watch. When I score, they will scream as if Freddie scored or Louis scored. You know, when they take photos, they'll make sure that I get my photo as well. When we come back from a tour, they're like, here's your envelope, and it have photos, which I didn't need. So I also know that experience, and that's why I've also learned that I can't stand up and say, this is what it is, and leave it at that, because I know how complex it can be.
Look, I mean, and everybody will have a different experience. I'm very aware of the problematic nature of my relationship with them as well.
Yes.
Because then I was offered opportunities to deal with sentences like, oh, you're not like the others.
Woo! I told you that my whole life. Frustrate me.
Because now what do you mean, the others? Who are the others? I'm not here
Am I
as
the
the
other?
others. I'm here as me. Now let's talk about it. I'm not fighting, but let's talk about it. Because then what are we talking about? Why do you love me?
Yeah.
Okay. Happens to be because I turn up for you in these ways. When you need to be in hospital, boom, there's a humanity that our people bonded with before the politic, because the politic is the propaganda. It's the he said, she said, they did, they did. And then we go based on those things to an outcome that we cannot dispute. That is bloody.
Yes.
Once it's bloody, it's a mess.
It is. But I like that fact of othering, because I had a conversation with a friend of mine who said, but why aren't they all like you? And my conversation was like, you've just othered me at this very moment, because you stopped seeing me for me whilst I'm relating to you as you. When you're saying other, you are saying, why aren't they like you? Then I need to then say, can't you pay for your grandfather's, your forefathers' crimes? Because then I'm like, okay, let's speak about that. No, but it was not me and my family. I'm like, no, but you just did that. You put a whole collective of black people into this situation and made me better than them. Now I need to make you worse as them, your people. Let's speak about that. Because it was my way of educating my friend to say no. And I also say to my friend, please learn how to speak, even if it's just greet me in my language. Not because I want you to speak my language, but because I know your food, I know your music, I know your language, I've assimilated, I know everything about your culture. And for me, a simple sawubona would go a long way, because it's starting to say that you are taking more effort into seeing parts of me that are not part of your world.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that, because ultimately, as a father here, I'm not teaching my daughter about race relations. I'm teaching her about how to say hello in various different ways for her own access. Because post the propaganda, they're going to be running the country. In the very moment that they are existing in, across language, she needs to know where Brie is. She needs to know where Noord is. No matter who her dad is, whatever. She needs to know how to speak to the people and, respect the people. And for that, she needs to know their culture. And if you come from a certain soil, you need to know what you can plant over here, what comes over there. You need to know how to walk to Ethiopia. What are these borders?
True. Let's talk about Lwazi. Ntili. I mean, I think many of us, I'll speak for myself, that was the character that looked your face for me, and I was like, okay, I know that face. Then I saw you in the Queen. Then I connect that dot. Then I see you here, and I'm like, oh, so I'm connecting the dots. But tell me about this character for you, because the mention of him gave a very a reaction and a jubilant one at that. Lwazi Montana.
Lwazi Montana was a lovely character for me.
Firstly, let's start about Montana J as a show.
Okay.
Yes. And then your window, Lwazi.
What do you want to know about Montana the show? Okay, no,
Yes.
okay, yeah.
Coming in and auditioning for Montana and getting to know that your interaction to this world, your access to this world, because characters are also access to the world.
Sure.
Lwazi was your access point or your door to Montana. How do you then experience Lwazi and experience Montana through Lwazi? That's maybe the question I'm asking.
Okay, cool. I'm thinking timeline. An interesting thing was happening because it was my first intersection where I played I played two characters over the same timeline. So they shared a look, which was very, very interesting for me because then we needed to go to the inside. But what was nice was that they differed in terms of age. Okay. So this was Khululeka that I was shooting, and as Khululeka was ending in the last 2 weeks of Khululeka, we started the Montana process. But I'd already auditioned for Lwazi's Montana. I auditioned for it before we started shooting Khululeka. I got Khululeka first. While we were shooting Khululeka, I got the brief for Montana. So Montana things came through, the script and all of this, and they were sitting there, I couldn't touch it. And I had my own design, but I didn't want to mess with, the character was Duma in Khululeka, who was a naughty boy, young filmmaker.
Yes, energetic.
Right? Whereas now I've got Lwazi, same look, but a different design. And I say design because it was an opportunity for me to do something different, to separate the two. Where the Khululeka character, I didn't have to do any of that stuff because he sort of lifted off the page. This was complex. And having read the whole thing, I saw the design. And the design is a 3-tiered structure that I told Tabang Mule about. So Tabang was directing on that. It was our first professional production, but the first time we worked together was when we were students. I was at UCT in 3rd year, he was at City Varsity, Cape Town in 3rd year, and we did a movie together. And so this was the reunion. This one that's coming out now, he was one of the directors as well.
All right.
I wonder if I can tell you.
So it was a full circle back.
Again, like a couple of times around, which is quite nice. Soon comes night. That's right, I said it, yeah. Whatever, Netflix, it'll come out.
Yeah.
So that'll be nice. That was Tabang. But here, we were having a conversation and I was explaining it to him how I saw it. He said, you need to write that down. I was like, okay, cool. It was a 3-circle structure. The first circle was a circle in white. That was his pure energy, right? But that pure energy gets tainted when his girlfriend is attacked by his best friend. He drugs her, she starts to pass out, and then in this he tries to have his way with her. She stabs him a couple of times before she passes out. My character gets there, Lwazi gets there, here she is, all of this, he takes the rap. But we don't reveal this, but he takes the rap, goes to prison, in prison, gets hurt the way you would in prison. It's not a fun time story, do you know what I mean? He suffered some darkness. He was hurt in the worst ways that you want to be hurt or don't want to be hurt in prison. I had to go through that psychology to break the boy, right? But he didn't succumb to it. He then rose from that in his darkness. By the time we meet him, he is the darkness that can stand for himself. But then after that, he gets released for good behavior. Has to come out. He doesn't have any documents, so he has to be what he was good at, and he's technically proficient. He's electronics and all of that. So he covers himself in light. So then you're seeing the light shrouded in the darkness, coming from the light, and then it reveals later on when she says, "You didn't kill what's his name, I did, but you took the rap." He says, "Because I love you."
Because I love you.
And that, I think, was the thing for me that allowed, because I've just killed again for you, because I'm punishing for myself for not being there for you the last time.
Yeah.
It's deep.
Yeah.
Right?
You're taking me back to where I don't want to go, but I had to go there because it's for you again.
Also, I mean, in the reaction of this thing where I get him, I don't know my own strength, and I do this thing, and I'm overcompensating, and this result happens, and I'm like, we'll do a lot for love. And I mean, the universal, what people take away is like, yo, just funela ulwazi mina.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because someone who, and that's the golden narrative that makes story king again as well. You know?
And they want Lwazi in spite of, because they want the superhero that he is. But you, Lwazi, deal with the reality, you know, of how he gets to be that superhero and what he has to go through and the story behind, you know. Is there ever a character, like, I mean, I'm thinking about the backstory and the work that you put in this particular character, Ulwazi. Is there ever a character that is there a character that you've played before that never left you, in that sense, that has continued to walk with you? Or that drops in every now and then? No, you're able to detach. You're able to say goodbye and cut ties.
No, I mean, it's like, is there a piece of your DNA that makes you crave pasta on a Thursday? It probably is. But you don't interact with it. It's there, but they don't bother.
Yeah, they don't bother you.
They don't bother. That. Like, I think on a subconscious level or dream or whatever, but I'll be very careful not to play certain characters. I won't play in a horror, for example. You'll never see me in a horror. Because I have to make that real. And then I go to sleep with it.
Yes.
I used to suffer nightmares.
Yeah. So
and I suffered them up until, you know what I'm saying? Like, I live in the dream space. It's fertile, but the flip side of it, the whole thing of being stuck in character, I have an approach that negates all of that. So you can't be stuck in character. Someone said to me, how do I get out of character? I said, think about something else. They're like, huh? I'm like, yeah, just think about something else.
Or do something else. Sometimes it's also that.
Because my argument is, the character for me is represented by the words, the specific writing of the words. That's why you can't change the words. And I take it, you can't change the words. You get a poem, it's written in a certain form, with a certain structure, with a certain meter, that elevates because of its crafted recitation, resuscitation. You know, you're reciting the thing and you give it out the way it is, measure for measure, line for line, meaning for meaning, and it's interpretive. Right? It shows the technical craft and the skill that moves away from the physicality of your own expression.
I like that.
And that changes your characteristics in terms of what we observe. Oh, that's unlike you.
True.
You don't sound like that. That's, you know?
Well, we'll get into that when we get into this picture here, this logo here, because I also want to touch a little bit of that. But before we get there, I was interested when you touched on Uduma and Khululeka is also interesting, because we are getting back to the elections and we need a Khululeka more than ever, you know.
I see what you're doing.
We need it more than ever. Also because the character was full of possibilities and energy and today young people don't want to vote. Young people don't want to be part of this because they don't feel represented. And that's why I think more than ever, we need a Khululeka. You know, maybe we also need to Khululeka as a country from our decisions that many continue to make, because I don't count myself under the same people who are voting a certain way, you know. But the majority is still making a certain decision, and we are where we are. How important are such stories for our society?
I think they're fundamentally important. What we are as actors are custodians of story, as I say, but you have to ask yourself what story is. And what is the purpose of story in the first place? It tells us of our way, what we did, because we don't know. You know, you're going towards a death that you can't fathom, you know, and everybody has come and gone before you. And well, the least you can be told is, well, how things were done. We ate this way, these comforts, these are all these things. So when you bring them to structures around governance, you've got government structures that work and government structures that don't work because of what the people who are being governed are experiencing. And if there is lack, there is lack. And there needs to be change. And if people don't know what to do about it or how to identify certain things, we need these mediums to show us what it was, what it is, and what it could be. And the story form does that for us because in a condensed amount of time, you get to do this, you get reflections. So it's interesting to me that we're talking about Khululeka because there's another story that we talk about with the same exploding consonant, triple K.
You know, stories like this, you say they are very important, and that's very important. And I know that there's a production that you've been part of, and also it's returning to the stage. Triple K.
Absolutely.
A play that I read, and I look forward to watching because I never got the privilege to watch. But when the play was still in workshop mode, and then also when the book came out, I got myself the copy and I read it. So I'm excited to see the work that you've put on stage. This is the Congolose, the commanding commissars, right, by Jefferson Shabalala. And Khululeka, and continuing in that spirit.
Yes.
But more so this time around, looking at the leaders in a different eye.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting for me that, so on the one platform we're saying, hey, it's important to vote, these are all the things, boom. On the other, we're saying, hey, it's important to vote because these are the things that we think have gone wrong.
Yeah.
I always speak softly of the show in this regard. It is our creative expression, but it is also our creative theorizing. We're in no way saying that this is fact.
Yes.
We are figuring from a creative point of view
What's up?
what we think could be through devices that use humor, comedy, satire, farce in some elements.
And a stellar cast.
And a stellar cast. It helps.
It does.
Because from a style point of view, I mean, what I enjoy most about it, all of the elements came together. And we'll leave all the big ones, you know, the things that I enjoy, that it's heightened text, it's contemporary South African writing, it speaks to style in terms of form, physicality, we're all in suits. There's an aesthetic, there's a culture, there's a nuance, there's a musicality, we're using graphics, we're using movement.
There's a language.
There's a language, you know what I mean? There's an intertextuality. Part of it in the show, one of them we did a show that was in sign as well. So we had to feature that and work it in, and we saw what was problematic about that, and we learned about how we can better these things because there's an idea of inclusion, because we need everybody to feel represented when we are telling our stories, and because our stories have this level of importance to say that that's what it was like, this is what it's like now, we theorize, you can theorize with us, we can talk about it, but at the end of the day, there's a social responsibility that we must act on coming. If we want to see a change, we must do something.
This play is very important. I mean, it has been to the market, Makanda, now going to the biggest theatre in terms of square mile in Africa, the South African State Theatre.
State Theatre.
Indeed. How different it is, because when you've run a play before and you've experienced it and you've seen the applause and the reviews are out there, what makes it different now coming in? What do you do as an actor to prepare yourself versus the first time? Because the preparation wouldn't be identical, I'd like to assume, or is it?
There are things for me that are identical.
Okay.
It's the wrong term, but I came across it and I like it, so I'm going to use it. I'm calling it script coverage.
Okay.
In that We'll talk about it just now, but I'm a drama technician, right? That's what this is about. And within my tool case are these tools that help me craft a certain standard work, you know. And I call myself a professional from a certain institution, therefore the work has to match the institution and then be consistent and grow from there as that. So that's what I owe myself, and that's what I sell. So then in my script coverage, I have to code the words back into the computer. So I systemize that and I go through it. Whether I've played the show 1,000 times before, I still need to conquer that process, because that process says no matter how many times you've played before, I can verify for this run that you have done this, you have logged this data over this much time, and therefore we can compute it like this, and when you call action, it's on. So that we can take your pretty insecurity, put it in a box, put it under your bed. You can find it when you go back home to pray. I got so dark so quickly. But you know,
I hear you.
So I learn my lines the same way because I'm not emotionally involved in their learning. I'm just coding. I'm running them a certain amount of times, I'll say, you know, because I encourage it, let it be there. I run each line 21 times so that I can form a habit, muscle memory out of it. To be or not to be, that is the question, whether it is noble in the mind to suffer the stings and arrows of outrageous fortune. 1. To be or not, 2. 3, 21, because then I've eaten those words as much as I've put in a 3-week structure into an hour in terms of muscle memory.
So 21 times at one go.
One go, one after the other. You're running into the truck, I like to call it. And you're not guessing at it, you're reading it, you're literally loading it in. To be or not to be, that is the question, whether it is noble in, etc., all the way, because then you won't miss a word, you won't miss a meaning. By the time you get to 17, you're so bored of those words, your mind is somewhere else, and now you're acting. Because you're focused on something, but your mind is projecting something else, and that thing that you're projecting, I can feel.
I love that.
So I say, do nothing. Say the words, don't bump into the furniture, and anything that you picture. You can't speak in apple red, but you can think it. Because we have that facility together, right? So I put all of those technical processes into place that I can guarantee my boss my salary. You're paying me that thing, so I can guarantee you why you're paying that, so that you can say to your bosses, that's why I hired him, that's why I'm paying him that, from a technical point of view. To conquer my fear of standing there in front of you and presenting a show that has already that much of a reputation.
Also, I mean, whenever a show is coming back, and that's the beauty of theater, is that you play the same thing every night, but every night is the first night, because it is the first night. You didn't play it yesterday. That character didn't leave.
And potentially the last night as well.
And it could also be the, well, we've seen that recently as well with the big play. We've seen that happen.
I didn't say anything.
Which I keep it moving. What excites you about stage versus, no, not versus. What excites you about stage and what excites you about screen?
Okay.
Yes.
Stage has a process, and the process allows you to question yourself. You get to interact with your creative energy, you know, and however you connect with that, you have to have, it's not you. You have to dip into something that will cover you and allow you this, you know, so that there's a humility that you have to find. And on stage, you have to pray to or for it every night. So you have to turn on the signal and say, yo, deliver me, whoever, whatever may I be. Even if it's praying to self, you have to disembark, because then when I lose my things in the moment over there, I'm taking care of the body, you take care of the character. Now there's already a distancing between who's who in the zoo here. Am I splitting myself and doing all of this, or am I acknowledging a God spirit within that is bigger than me that will?
I love that. Yeah.
Because how do I do this? How do I remember all of this? How does it, how can I repeat it 21 times and it stays? How did I come to know that? How did I mean, like I've been doing it for a long time, but it's not mine.
Yeah.
So I have to hand it over.
Yeah, that's true. And I think the art of creation and being a creative is surrendering. you all constantly have to be in a posture of surrendering. Whether you are writing your song and you're surrendering, whether you are rehearsing your line and preparing for a performance, but then you have to surrender it because you're giving it up to the audience. You're giving up first to the moment for it to be, and then through that being, it gets to their audience, and their audience receive it a certain way. So it's a constant journey of surrendering, and when we can't let go, that's where we find struggles, because now you are fighting your audience. You're holding and they are pushing, and they're like it's ours, but
you see, and it's a cool thing that happens. I think from the point of view of a young journey, of a young actor's journey. You try to run the show. I tried that once on an opening night. I just felt the show wasn't doing its thing. It was at the Space Theatre. We were doing Noel Coward's Private Lives. Fred Abrahams directed that. I remember everyone now. Marcel Meyer, Erica Vessels, Nam Tlachuka, myself. Okay, that's a different actor, different show. But anyway, I tried to fix the problem. There was a problem. I tried to fix it myself without communicating with everybody. Then I became the problem. So I was like, if there's a problem, let them give the note to the cast, because then we are consistent with the thing. I could change, but then they could see me trying to fix it. They're like, don't do it. What are you? And then I messed it up. You have to surrender. It's bigger than
you.
It's bigger than you.
And also being a savior, Vele, that's the thing. When you want to bring the savior complex in there, it's not going to help you.
But what excites me about film, if I finish that side off,
yes,
film it's like painting with oil, because oil is a slow drying medium, but very lovely to blend. But you can also lose yourself in it, and then when you look back, it's just muddy.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderfully distilled, crafted experience that the more time you have, the deeper the ocean goes. I mean, you look at people like Daniel Day-Lewis, they've been given time. And that's all we need. If we had that much time.
No, I agree. Time and maybe budget as well. It would make a massive difference.
But in that, I rock up to film to paint with oil and watercolors. And how it manifests is in stillness. I investigate the stillness. I deliberately put myself to be still, challenge myself to be still, so that I'm not hiding behind technique or whatever. The only technique is that to be still, but how are you still and not robotic? How are you still and soft? How are you affected and still? How do you? And it's all of those questions that give me ideas to. I say to my students, don't play happiness for me.
Be happy.
Play the sparkling of a fairy light from a distance. Because you can't possibly play that, but now you have an image that you can respond to. Action, they speak and they're seeing that thing, and I'm like, that's what you play. Because that has nuances that I can't direct into an emotion. It's a memory, it's a feeling, it has a scent. Right?
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
You'll never know how my characters smell, but they smell good if they look like they do.
That's so true.
Yeah,
that's so true, because people never really know, right?
You have to own the room first. That room there. There's no difference between film and theater. It's just where the audience is sitting.
Yes.
So the magic still has to burn, whether it's burning for 1,000 people or it's burning for 3 people.
For you, there's no difference as an actor, because yes, it's that the fire must be within. For the audience as well, the difference then become in the gaze, because in theater they channel their own gaze. You could be having a monologue and I'm looking at that one sitting with
yeah.
Screen.
Yes. We force your eye over there, and that's lovely because that's what forces you. That's what forces you into a moment of presence.
Yeah.
Because my thing is, if you are looking there, I don't know that you are looking there. I'm not playing for you alone. So I have to be here and I have to be governed by the story.
Yeah.
Because if I'm looking, oh no, don't look, oh no, don't go, get off your phone. You're no longer there.
You're not there. You must stay.
And you still look like you're there, you know what I mean?
Drama tech. What, in fact, when I say from good to great, what comes to mind?
Drama tech.
I gave it, it's that open book question. Drama tech, for those that are watching, this logo speaks to that, right? But I was also fascinated by why that logo is there and like positioned there, because it could have been a small thing on the side. You're gonna tell us that, but let's start with Dramatech. Where did it come from, Dramatech? Because it's a technician who's a drama technician. Yes.
COVID, the blessed.
The gift that
Yes,
kept on giving.
you know what I'm saying? COVID offered us an opportunity to question our industrial relations because you had services that were essential and services that were not essential. And from a psychological point of view, content needed, we needed content. So we were an essential service in that sense, but we were hindered from the process of working. So I needed a concept that said, if I needed to answer the question, if I'm not acting, what is my usefulness within the industry? Well, that was a big question, because then it said, well, I know you can do all of these things. I said, well, can I teach any of those things? You know, if I didn't have to do those things myself, how many of these things can I do? I was like, well, I'll tell you, I'm a technician. I know, I have been waiting for this. You need to not act, you can do this. Then the nerd came out. I was just like, whoa. Because now my looks don't matter.
Yeah.
But my structuring does, all of the things that are soft, that can be. So in short, I created the idea. The idea was, if anybody comes to me and they asked me anything about drama, I should have an answer, or someone that I can call, or a book that I can refer to, or an experience. I have those things, so I can trade on that, you know? I don't have to specify what I do. I'm like, what seems to be the problem? Doctors say that they went to medical school for you, I went to drama school for you. What seems to be the problem? Oh, style, that's fine. We can just do this or that. Oh, I don't know anything about that. Oh, I do. You know? And then I just banked on that, because I found that the problem was that people in the industry outside of COVID do not have as much skill as they could, because of an availability to education. Not everybody can afford, and not everybody will be taken.
Oh, that's a key one.
And not everybody from the taken will be chosen.
Oh my goodness.
And that's why it shines. You look in the right light, you go,
Yeah. I really love what you're saying, because we often judge the ones that didn't go to school because we say you didn't go to school. We forget that sometimes you can want to and not be. But even those that are or do get that opportunity doesn't mean they will become. At least not in the mainstream or in the bigger scheme of things. They can always do the work, you know, because if you're an actor and you believe you're an actor, you need to be acting. Doesn't matter whether you're mainstream or not, big platform or small platform, you are a fish, swim. Swim in the pond, swim in the pool. But we all want to swim in the sea, because there are many opportunities in the sea. And the sea is wilder, and it's bigger, and it's fun, and it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
We want the sea. Don't give us the swimming pool.
Yeah. So that was the thing for me, was to say, instead of arguing with people who didn't have the same opportunity,
Yes.
how can I help?
Yeah.
And I started helping in the minutes before the shoot or between takes, whatever, not directing.
Yes.
I have to be very wary about how I communicate with an actor. I show my thing, and I'm like, what do you think? How do we do this? So then there's a technical facility that was happening. It was most beautiful. I was working on Makoti last year with Ustu Mumchal. He's a wonderful technician, completely different style to mine. So here we were negotiating, and mine as a consultant, if I were working with him and he was a client, I would have to surrender my style to see what his style is. He's been long on the show, all the stuff. So then I plug into his system, and as we're doing this thing, he recognizes my system, and now we both adhere to both systems, and the scenes were magical. It was the most fun I've ever had playing with an actor on set in that particular kind of thing, because of the work that we got to do together, because we've done our homework together.
Yeah.
I mean, separate at home, that we worked together. But here, we were given the space. They even showed a thing about it. They posted. We got on, we did good work, and that was really exciting for me.
Beautiful.
But I could have been doing that work with a a 17-year-old who's being shot, who's playing a comedy and we're investigating comic structure, or the 14-year-old who's doing Juliet and she's talking about young love and betrayal and losing her cousin and her husband and all of that, talking meter, structure, rhyme, talking physicality of the structure of a joke versus the professional scene. So I'm consulting in all of these various different things. We're teaching at UJ, we're teaching long form because the university says, can your concept hold over a year? We're like, we can. Next year, we're taking the first years and the second years.
Congrats.
Maybe I spoke too soon, but that's
the hope.
We speak it into
Yes,
existence,
yes,
right?
yes.
Yes. Yeah, I worked with Wits on Shakespeare. We were about to do some work with another theater that I'm not going to mention now, but it'll come up because the thing is, what can my dramatic experience facilitate, right?
So COVID hit the country. The country is at, people are at home, industry is not working, and the few that eventually starts getting back, it's very limited. So then you realize that, okay, since we're not working, I've got all this time, the nerd in you starts to make notes and realizing that the skill set is there and it can outlive you now, because for the first time you're confronted with the fact that if I drop dead now, what did I leave behind? So am I tracking correctly?
Yeah.
So then here we are. How then do we get to Dramatech being born as a company now? Because now it is a company. I mean, the work you're telling us about working with UJ and all of those things, those are the benefits of the conversations that you then had and the skills that you identified, but now you package it.
Yes. And that's the next step.
Yes.
It's what is necessary, and what was necessary was the field work that in psychology you'll need 2 years to go do. For your master, you 2 year masters to go do the field work and to act with people. And that's a one-on-one case study interaction. And that's what I needed to do. To find out from the people who, firstly, find out who's interested in this as a service. If I were to give you a consultation for acting, what does it mean? How much time do we need? What is the structure? You know, how does it break down? How much am I charging per minute into the hourly structure? You know, how does the business pay me? All of those thoughts, fine, whatever. But how do I structure it so I can sell it? And how accessible is it? So then I found a space. I was able to advertise it and people came through, but that structure didn't work because I did a 9 to 5 on a Saturday. I didn't have a pee break. I didn't have lunch. It was stupid. Also, some people would be late and it would overlap. So then we went on to the online structure because we'd already been playing in that online space, and that was easy for me. Then my days filled up during the week. Now I'm being paid to give this advice, and so far I'm alone because I'm not paying anybody. Then I've seen over the past 3 years a lot of kids, but this year alone I saw 12,000 kids in the space of 6 weeks working with Curo Create.
Yes, okay.
National tour, 8 minutes at a time. They give me their little monologue, they do the thing, whatever. I'm like, that was lovely. We need to work on projection. We need to work on articulating what it means to articulate, separating your words so that there's an essence there. I love it. Your energy is shining through. If I were to put a light onto your chest, you would emanate. You would lift, you would grow. Believe that you are a superhero. You are beautiful. Tell me the story. I lost my words. Leave that alone. Tell me about yourself. Where do you come from? What's your favorite thing to do? I'm generating confidence as fodder that I may hand it over, not to a skin color, but to a child who's going to be alive in the future. To do this work, you need to fill it up with something that belief.
I love that. Is that the reason why you chose the design that has to emanate? Because when light hits your chest, it glows. It says, hello, I'm
Then you
here.
look like a star.
You shine bright like the star that you are.
But actually, you are a mirror. You reflect light.
You reflect light,
You're of light. But when we do this, you reflect light. And that's more powerful for me, I think.
And you placed it on the chest because...
Because every superhero is born from trauma.
Okay.
So for me, it was when I found myself broken by the things that I decided had broken me as a human being. How do I take all of the pieces and put them together to a face that can face the darkness, you know?
Woo!
Yeah. But also it speaks to drama. You've got up and down, the drama faces, you know, happy, sad, dark, light, comedy, you know what I mean? But all the pieces come together. It's
The brokenness of every story.
absolutely,
You know?
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you put it on over there and you put on a brave
It
face.
makes a whole, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I love that. No, that's a beautiful design, beautiful story.
Thank
I
you.
mean, if I was a funder, I'd be like, listen, that story alone,
Listen.
I'm there. I'm there, you know. And I love that. I love that the work that you're doing with schools. I love the work that you're doing with professionals because your tagline is from good to great. So you are looking for people. It's a space where even professionals that have been doing the time, but because we all always have something to work on, and sometimes we don't have the safe spaces to work on it, you know, and sometimes we don't have the person that we can be vulnerable enough with our insecurities, because sometimes you can't get help. You can't go to the doctor and look for help, but don't tell them kubuhlungu kuphi. And you become that space where as an actor I can come and say, you know what, kahle problem ami la. Na ile pain engangakwazi ukubacompensate. They keep saying, why aren't you getting to the place? But the reason is because of this. Then you become that space.
And people we've been getting support in that. I appreciate the platform to speak about this. We did some work with Oka Media this year where I worked with them on that the same show that I'm acting in. I also got an opportunity to consult on as well. That was cool. We worked on The Wife as well. There was more intimacy coordination. That was interesting for us to check that out. Worked with Black Film Productions, but it was the first time working with the company, so I took on that gig as an actor. So the company represented me over there to see how we deal with the legislation and all of that compliance stuff, which then took us to the tax return documents and all of that, and understanding what it means to be a business owner from the ground up.
Yeah.
Now I have a service that needs to do more than just pay me. It has to plug into various things. So it needs policies. It needs, when you work with other people, staffing, you know, merchandising solutions. You know, you got the caps, you got the hoodies. I'll show you my hoodie later. It's in the bag there. But you know, to say, I started with the idea of wanting to have work when I wouldn't have the opportunity to work. Now I'm selling caps and T-shirts, and I'm gonna have water, dog. We're like, what's water got to do with Dramatech? I'm like, it's togetherness. Yeah.
But also we drink all the time. I
Yeah.
mean, we need to drink during our
You know?
sets, to our scenes.
I want you to manifest this with me, okay? Picture it. It's a black Mustang, charcoal black, with a black matte embossed mask on the bonnet.
I love it.
It's the drama mobile.
I see. Yazil.
It's gonna happen.
It should, and it should, and it should, it should. Well, I appreciate that we had this conversation. There is the other characters you've played. You've been here for years in this industry. You've been playing for years, but I think probably with time, as we continue this work as well, we'll have you back here because I think there's so many things that we're still yet to unpack. But I thank you for your excitement about the industry, your love for it, your passion. It oozes in conversations, in your being, and the ability to connect the dots. You are very necessary in the industry.
Speaking of connecting the dots, before we close off, the question I didn't answer was, what does it mean to be 40 now?
Yes.
I am young enough to still be hip, but old enough to be taken seriously. Therefore, I have ability. So I'm the pin between the young ones and the old ones. The old ones give us money. So Easy Equities and I are partnering to create a package for actors, for artists, that looks at insurance, longevity.
Yes.
That idea. We're not compliant there.
Yes.
So that's a thing. That's a conversation that we're having. These guys, they're a wonderful platform, and they're partnering with us to say, well, you know, we've got all these things, and we try it out on our audience. You know, so we take it to a platform like UJ and say, well, look, here's an idea. Let's check it out. You know, so that we can continue with the idea of economy and doing stuff and making sure that we're responsible for our own output because we are the industry. We are the lifeblood. We are the heart of the industry. So without us, there is no industry, but the industry wants us to believe that it will survive without us.
True.
So the beating of this is our movement. This is us. And that movement happens when I'm writing, when I'm doing things. I've been watching these 1-minute films. Don't cost anything. Beautifully set up in one location, all these things. The craft is in the storytelling. And I'm like, do it. I'll come and do it for you. You can't afford me, so I'll do it as a consultation. I'll be in that movie if everybody else can match the level. If I can match the level, let's go.
So as we wrap up, I mean, next time when I have you, I really want to get into a conversation about the business, the actor as a business, and how to take care of the business. You know, the first thing we need to do, our agents ask us is, do you have your text number and so forth? But we don't know how to go about that. You have the text number, but then you get into a gig and then you know, you behind on texts, you behind on this. I want us to take that conversation, but then I also want us to get into how you've been able to commercialize and get the income in terms of as a creative, because it was your creative gift of being able to tell stories and your experience in the industry that has produced the t-shirt and the cap and the school and the relationships now that you have with other institutions. We need to connect those dots, not to take away from the business because we can't, but because we want to learn so that we know that an actor, even a parent at home, can know that there's more to this storytelling and this talent than what they see on TV.
Absolutely. So that'll be the other half of the mask.
Yes, we're gonna get into the mask definitely. But again, as we wrap it up, it's a conversation that traditionally one would start with, but we play our own rules. We do it the way we do it because we flow with the flow. And I think that this is how you spoke about the fact that you started acting very young and you've been at it for 36 years. You've clocked in the hours from the nativity play to here. But your background, earlier on I spoke about the fact that we all thought you were Xhosa, only to find Gucci is a Zulu guy masquerading as a Xhosa mascot. So I just want us to wrap it up with a sense of giving our audience a window into you, who you are, because you've given us as the audience, I'm included in that, all these characters, and each of them will bring a memory to each of us. But today I ask that as we wrap it up, you give us a part of you that you are willing to share.
Sure.
Yeah.
I grew up in Durban.
Yes.
I went to my primary school there. I went to a school called Penzance Primary. And the drama preceded that. So, I mean, the first school that I did my drama at was my preschool, which was Ezubumnand, Kwavi, Imlaz, Asamaroputin. So that's where I got into all of that. And wherever I went, I mean, I went to Sandagahle after that, and there was sketch type plays that we did, you know what I mean, as kids. Then I went to a school called Interfellowship, where I started understanding the musicality part of performance as well. Then by the time I got to Penzance, the physical side of art came through. That's where I was mostly exposed to sport, you know, the physical body in that, and how that then related to the drama. So when I was swimming, it felt similar to when I was singing, and the motion in terms of the martial art, the body, the similarities that are all building towards this person. And there was expression. I could express myself with a pen, with on rollerblades. I could ride my rollerblade with rollerblades on bicycle. There were lots of things. I was a child of experimentation and exploration, and there wasn't an I can't. There was a I wonder how, I wonder if. And I was adventurous, you know, as long as I didn't break anything or burn anything down. Fire, I stopped burning things. I was the kid who tried to burn things. I want to see what's going to happen. Then I realized that's not going to work. But if there's no destruction, then there's no... The idea of secrecy, creative secrecy, I took a lot of things. I was like, oh, I'm going to do that again. I'm not going to tell anybody about it. I'm going to practice it. The secret relationship that I had with practice, how did you do that? It's magic. Magic is practiced, sleight of hand, all of that stuff. So by the time I got to high school, I'd been involved in all of these processes. There was never a year from when I was 4 that I skipped out on a dramatic experience or musical experience or sport experience. All of them were the same. You know, by the time I matriculated, I was playing Northern Natal tennis. I was the captain of the under-18 A team, because there's a poetry in that storytelling, like we're saying. There's a story there, but there's a sword play there, right?
And
There's
rhythm.
a rhythm and a musicality, and that thing I can write as a poem because I know that feeling, that structure, all of that. So I was immersed in all of the stuff. It was never taken away. So it just shifted form. It required a different part of my body, but the processor was still the same. So then I started to question it. Like when I moved the concept of, I'm an urban ninja, as I say to people. I took the physical form of Ikarati, the empty hand, and I said, if I have something else in my hand, the weapon should be doubled or whatever the thing is because I've got something else. So how do I reverse engineer this nunchuck to make sense? There's this block, which means I would need to have this strike, but this strike is a circle. And for this circle, there's a circle, and there's the inverse, and circles are spherical. So you have flow. I don't know all about flow.
And flow is what you exude. So it seems that it's really become one with you, you know. The theory is not, has translated, because sometimes you might know it here, and it lives here, but you have been able to allow it to live here, but also through you.
But it's the fighter, right? In that ultimately I'm protecting myself as an actor from insecurity. And when I'm insecure, I'm in a state of tension and fear. If that insecurity were a human being, I would have to face it in its ways, and that's where I'm most confident. I'll fight a nigga me.
Yeah, and you're always
saying, you know, so with that energy and ideology, then you are ready for a thing always, so that there's a point of negotiation within it.
And speaking about that, because we started off with that same thing of protecting the face, protecting the look, learning how to flight to protect. When did you feel in your life you needed to protect it? And why did you feel the need to protect?
It wasn't really about the face.
Yeah.
It was about the integrity of the matter, whatever the matter was. You see, if we're still talking about the kid who grew up, I understood quite early on that the gift is not mine. Therefore, what is this body? The body is not mine either. So it's a search for self. Where am I? I mean, I've had a lot of fun exploring and enjoying this body. I can do a lot of cool things, you know what I mean? And there's a vanity that comes with that, but ultimately there's a duty that says, it's not yours. It's temporary. You're using your time and you're procrastinating your life away. You're not doing the things that you're supposed to.
It's not mine, it's given to me. I think it's also the responsibility of, then how do I carry it so that I steward this greatly. Thank you so much. I want to wrap up with this. If you could speak back to your younger self starting out in the industry, now as a 40-year-old man with a brilliant resume and a business on the side that's going to make you a lot of money as it continues to grow, what would you say to that boy that didn't see the business coming, that didn't see the long career coming along?
I just give him a high five.
That is how we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much.
Thank you, King.
You know what? I give you a high five for staying with us. God bless. It's a wrap.